All right, ladies and gentlemen, all festival goers, we're going to do it in English. We might mix in some Tigrinya in there once in a while, but mostly in English. And we're delighted to have two amazing people here, Eritreans who've done so much for our track and field program in Eritrea. Our first guest is Yohannes Debessay, who probably most people remember from way back in 2000 and before, very active in our community. Also one of the people who was responsible for starting EAAA, Eritrean American Athletic Association, which played a huge role in developing a stronger program back home in Eritrea. Yohannes, welcome. And then I'm going to introduce to Merhawi Keflezighi. As you know, he's the kind of Eritrean that most people would probably don't know much about, but is doing so much underground, did so much work with his brother Keflezighi, but also did a lot for track and field here in America, and is also an agent, UCLA grad, and just an amazing young man who's doing so much. And I know he has a couple of athletes in the Olympics in Tokyo. And so with that, I want to say, you two, we'll start off with Johnny. Introduce yourselves. Who's Johnny?
I don't like to talk about, but start with the question that we don't like. So just to focus it and narrow it down. So I think with athletics, Eritrean American Athletics, we formed Eritrean American Athletics Association in 2001. So, you know, one of the people that started EAAA, I would say. And beside that, after we finished EAAA, I think I went for my master's and PhD. So I got my PhD in 2019. That's in a doctorate in healthcare management. And then I did a little bit of research. Right now, we're just trying to revive EAAA to get it back where we can contribute more to what we have done in the past days. So I would just restrict my my introduction to EAAA, I would say, but you know, that's.
Well, thank you very much. And Merhawi, I keep calling you Meb. I don't know, you know, because you brought Meb. You know, you never came on. Meb comes in all the time. You send me Meb all the time on these kinds of events. So now it's your turn. So Merhawi, tell me a little bit about who's Merhawi. Talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem, Mike. And it's great to be here with Dr. Yohannes. And it's okay if you call me Meb. You know, we look alike, we sound alike, we just don't run alike. So that's where the resemblance ends. But, you know, my name is Merhawi Keflezighi, and I am known as Meb younger brother. And I have the honor of representing Meb and several different athletes. I remember when EAAA was started, I was probably a junior in college, and it was just so exciting, all right? Because it was just people that were passionate about the sport and wanting to give back. And it's exciting to hear that there's going to be a revival of the program in the organization, because I really do think, you know, this was virtual times before the Zooms, you know, where people could connect, even though they were in different parts of the country and even different parts of the world. So nowadays we have more technology, so we can see each other, not just email or text, email or phone calls. So this is a very exciting conversation. And ultimately, I think we all agree there's so much potential in running in Eritrea and the diaspora, Eritreans in the diaspora, right? And so anything that we can do to encourage that and support those athletes, I think is a good investment, not just financially, but also support. So I'm excited to be part of this conversation, and thanks for having me.
Well, fantastic. So what we're going to do is now, let's go back a little, rewind back a little bit to the history of track and field in Eritrea. As far as I know, based on my research, in the 1990s, we attempted some things with, I remember our first female runner in Greece also, she was training. And then after that, you know, the early stages of track and field for Eritrea always seemed very, we never had a history of it, to say the least. So then EAAA came in. Meb was also starting to rise up as an athlete in the international community. Yohannes, tell me, how did your idea to create EAAA come about?
So the idea was, it started from Sydney Olympics in 2001. That was the first time that Eritrea got to the Olympics. And I was in the Air Force in Mississippi at that time. I vividly remember everything. It's just heart-taking to see the flag waving. So 3 runners represented Eritrea at that time, and MEB represented the US. So we were represented by 4 people, and that's a great honor for us. And just the next day, I went to run a 5K. So just to honor that, I just taken my heart. And then with that, I said we need to form some kind of organization. Since we are already in the Olympics, we need to do something to come together so that we can contribute to Eritrean athletics. So with that, reached out to MEB and Bolota, and then also high school runners, including Nathaniel from Texas and Abraham from Ohio. And then we have other runners from Atlanta. Also, we had Abraham and Negisti. So we were able to reach out all the high school and college runners, and we met in Atlanta, and then we sat together, and then everybody was positive. Everybody was positive, so we decided to form an association. We called it EAAA, Eritrean American Athletics Association. So our start was the Sydney Olympics, would say.
That's awesome, because I recall when that happened, it was in Atlanta. I was actually there working with a sports federation. And I remember you guys gathering together because you had asked me to find a place for you guys and that kind of thing. But it's just amazing how that turned into something bigger. And we'll talk about that. And so Merhawi, let's talk a little bit about your, your association with EAAA and whatever you're doing throughout the time that EAAA was being formed.
Yeah, like Dr. Yohannes said, Sydney was a very important point in the milestone and history of Eritrean sports, and especially track and field. And when MEB was there, his first Olympic Games, and for MEB, when he had to decide who to represent as a professional athlete, international athlete, it was a very difficult decision for him. Some people in our family were saying, look, you have a chance to be the first Olympian for Eritrea. And some people in our family were saying, hey, you know what? The United States is where you've spent the majority of your time. So it was a very difficult decision for MEB. He made the decision. He listened to his heart, which is what my mom advised him to do. And he made a great decision that allowed him to represent both countries, his roots and where he is now. But when we were in Sydney, I was fortunate enough, I think I was a sophomore in college, to be in Sydney with MEB and my brother Futsal, my oldest brother, who started the running in our family, and my parents, mom and dad. And we got to meet the Eritrean runners. And we spent the majority of our time with them, just having tea. And seriously, as a young athlete, I said, oh my goodness, if there's any way I can help these athletes, I would love to, because not everybody had the opportunities that MEB had. They all had the talent, or even more talent. So that is when my idea about working with runners, and this is way before I started representing MEB, that's when my idea about working with runners developed. And getting to meet Yohannes Keflezighi, Nebiat Haptemariam, for example. And it was just like, man, this is off to a really good start. And the community in Sydney, in all of Australia, the Eritrean community, they treated these athletes like the royalty that they are. It was really great to see. And so, it's just a lot of passion. When you feel like you're represented, there's just a lot of passion that comes in. And so seeing that firsthand, I was just like, okay, what can I do to help? And but EAAA, I think, is one of those things that brought everybody together. Everybody probably had these ideas separately, and EAAA was like, okay, let's put this all together. I was young, but I was definitely observing everything that EAAA was doing from a distance.
Absolutely. And me, in the time that I was a part working with Joni and also promoting EAAA, I can't tell you the amount of people that I've met and that have changed their lives. Recently, someone that I remember, a young lady that Johnny introduced me to. Just call her, you know, talk to her. And now she's married. She's, you know, they're starting to become adults. And I mean, the role that you played, Johnny, is no joke. I mean, not only Johnny, but I'm talking about EAAA as a whole had really done something. And I think that it's time to, like you said, pick it up again, because our track and field, we have so much potential. And to me, it's just amazing. So Merhawi, in response to what you just said, also, you know, a lot of people question, you know, Meb is one of our big heroes. Obviously, Debessay has gotten a medal in the same year that Meb did. But a lot of people say, you know what, but he never really waved the Eritrean flag. But, you know, I actually posted something on YouTube yesterday, which was something I did a long time ago. When Meb retired, I happened to be at his retirement, and I posted, and he spoke in Tigrinya and in English, talking about how he's out to have fashion. You know, he showed his Eritrean inner self. And I think a lot of people don't see that side of it, but in action, Meb was doing a lot of great things. And I know that, Johnny, you have a lot of other athletes to talk about, including people who we don't maybe see their face all the time. So talk a little bit about some of the athletes, but talk about Meb a little bit in terms of the challenges he faced in that situation.
Yeah, is that for me, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you know, at the end of the day, when you listen to your heart, you do. I think as a family, everybody knows that we are proud Eritreans, proud Eritrean Americans. And so we know, in addition to representing for Meb, what he was able to do in his career, just with pure intent, is represent all of the Eritreans, but also Eritreans that are outside of Eritrea. European Eritreans, Eritreans in Australia, of course, in the United States and Canada. And every time we meet people, they always say, like, hey, every time I tell them I'm from Eritrea, they always say, do you know Meb? No matter where they are. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people. And so it's a source of pride. And I think for Meb, it's just one of those things. You never know how things are going to go, right? You just have to make the best decision possible at that moment, and you have to follow your heart. And I'll be honest with you guys, when I was 18, 19 years old, when Meb made that decision, I was probably one of the ones that was trying to get him to run for the United States. I mean, for Eritrea at that time. But he made the right decision. In my honest, I think no matter what decision he made, he would have been representing both countries. And that's a true reflection of who we are, you know, of who a lot of us are. We are proud Eritrean Americans, and our dad always told us, don't forget your roots, right? Take advantage of the opportunities, be the best citizen you can be, but never forget your roots. And I think we try to make sure there's always more that you can do and that you want to do. But you know, it's also a marathon. It's not a sprint, you know, so especially for Meb, when he was in the middle of his career, there were certain things that he wanted to do that he couldn't do. And so hopefully, as things develop over the time, there's more things we can do in Eritrea, not just in athletics, that's one, but in education and health also.
Absolutely. And Johnny, go ahead and talk a little bit about, your research. I remember you used to write so many emails of the work that some of the young people did. You followed them closely, sort of, being their overlooker. You know, you're watching, you're telling us reports, so-and-so's doing this, and organizing events. And, I remember we did a charity an event where we got Debessay's jersey for one of your events. So talk a little bit about that, Johnny. Talk about the growth of EAAA.
So the response, once we did EAAA, so the response was massive, I would say, in all senses. So all the runners were happy, including the Olympians, and coming together was great, and it inspired everyone in EAAA and in Eritrea. So one of the moments is that in 2002, we did the second round in Toronto, EAAA second year annual event. So we did all the running. Naftalam was there. So Naftalam did take the entire Indiana state in high school in cross country. That's a pride. To take a state, the entire state is great. And then Abraham did the entire Ohio, right? From the entire Ohio, he became first. And then in California, we had Gilead and his brother. And that's so inspiring to see that. So all coming in 1 year from, in high school and college, right? And then 2002, after that, Meb and I visited Eritrea. It was a big reception for us. It's beyond our expectation. We don't do anything to get recognition. We do it because it's in our heart. We do it because this country paid so much to get here. And that's our share, our fair share. So that's what we did, but the reception was great. The Eritrean Sport Commission was there. Minister Askal was there, and it was a great honor. All the athletes from soccer, from cycling, and from athletes was there, right? So the first thing that we did was, let's do something very close in Eritrea, right? So we decided to sponsor 3 runners from inside the country so that we can help them, right? So they gave us 3 names. So we don't pick, so the Eritrean Athletics Federation picks, so we just want to help, right? The 3 runners, one of them was Ersenai. So we come back here, we sent some shoes from Nike here. And it's a small help, I wouldn't like, but so we start with that. We evolved to help more in 2003 and 4. And 2004 and 5 was completely a game-changing event, right? In 2003, for the first time, Eritrea took on the cross country, and EAAA took part in cross country also in 2003. At that time, we didn't have money, so we talked with Ambassador Girma Asmorom, a great guy, and he's so understanding into the sports. And I say, we don't have money, but we can send runners to represent Eritrea. And he said he's willing to pay for them. So he paid for their flight and for their hotel expense. And then we sent 2 runners to represent Eritrea into the 2003 cross-country championship. That's a great honor. They come back here. It's a great representation. In their school was a big news about their athletes, their college athletes are representing Eritrea. So that was great. And then one of them was Abraham. And then his American coach decided to go with him. Abraham is like my son. I want to go on his first international competition. I want to go with him. And the first thing I did was I pick up the phone and call Eritrean National Athletics Federation president. And I said, we have this. It's a great opportunity. Can you give him papers, right? So they gave him papers as a coach to get in inside. He enjoyed, of course, he paid for his flight, and that's a great honor. All of this wouldn't come if we didn't come as EAAA, right? So our collective energy created beyond what we can imagine, right? It's success beyond what we can imagine. In 2004, we sent other runners also in 2004 representing Eritrea, and we paid for them, right? We paid the hotel and everything expense, we paid for that. And then here in the US, we were flourishing, right? We have 2004, 2005 was as just unimaginable victory. And Gilead and in high school and his brother were just dominating the California. And then Naftalem was doing great, and Abraham, and then Negisti from Atlanta, and all of this. And then we go one step up in college, and Simon Bairo took the entire country college championship, right? That was so inspiring. And then you go beyond that, and Meb and Bolota was dominating every event in the 5K and 10K. That's a breathtaking that we want to see, right? And so inspiring, especially Meb's and Bolota's victory is heart-taking. It's so inspiring for the people that to come together with them in one organization, be close to them and talking to them. And eventually Meb become a professional desk director and, you know, closely working with the runners also. That was very inspiring to get to that stage. So it's beyond what we can imagine. What we spend the energy for it is you know, we spend a lot of energy, but the results are tenfold, I would say.
Very amazing story. And, you know, for me, it touched my heart. People think I'm really biased because I talk about the great Ambassador Girma Asmorom. Yesterday, he came up in conversations in every discussion that we had. This guy just was simply, I don't know how to say it. There's got to be something that we could do for him to pay tribute in a big way. And I'm planning to do that. I hope that you guys can help me with that, because this, he was always open to people. He was always open to sports, and he was open to other ideas that could make Eritreans better. So with that said, I know that Meb also had some kind of event here in the Washington, D.C. area, if I can remember, during the, I believe in the 2000s. It was a EDF sponsored event. Can you talk a little, take me back to memory lane, Merhawi, on that one? I met your parents that time also for the first time. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the EDF dinner, I think it was in 2005 in Washington, D.C. It was a beautiful event organized by EDF, and Meb was a guest of honor. And it was a fundraiser for EDF, and it was just beautiful. I think I had just started working with Meb as his agent at that time. And the organization, the celebration, you know, all for a good cause, right, was just beautiful. They had Eritrean dance, you know, youth dance group that performed, because the audience was Eritreans and Americans, right? And so it was a great introduction to the Eritrean culture and history. And a lot of organizations like the New York Roadrunners that put on the New York City Marathon attended, bought a table for their guests and sponsors. It was a very well put together event, just a beautiful event for a good cause. And I remember that event very fondly. So it's just those types of things, like there are so many ways to give, right? I think for all of us to think about, you know, time, talent, treasure, right? Some people donate money, some people donate time. Sometimes people donate their talents, whatever their talents could be. And so I think that was a great event where everything came together. You know, people donated a lot of different things and raised a lot of money and put a lot of exposure. Because I think one of the things we have to always realize is it's great to talk amongst ourselves, fellow Eritreans and Eritrean Americans, but it's also good to communicate with people outside our community and develop those relationships. And I think the EDF dinner was a perfect demonstration of that.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, what I want to go from here going forward is we talked a little bit about the history. So whatever time we have left, let's talk a little about, I know today is a fitting day. Actually, we're doing this on the last day of the Olympics, Tokyo. Of course, the best result we had in Tokyo, we could briefly talk about that, was Yohannes Haile Selassie, took 5th, and he came very close. But I think that to see what we saw in the last couple of weeks, to me, was amazing. I think we have a lot of work to do ahead of us. I think management requires a little bit more support from all of us. And I think organizations like EAAA, Merhawi, even yourself as a professional, we can contribute so much, and we need to start doing that together collectively. And that's why Eri International wants to be the people, the organization that's going to bring everybody together in every sport. And we're working with every sports sector in Eritrea, working directly with the Sports Commission, with the Football Federation, all that. So with that said, give me a little bit of your analysis on the Olympics and what you saw and what we could do better. Let me go with Joni first, from administrative point of view.
So I think I'll take you back a little bit back on that one. So I think the first medal that we got on a team medal was 2004 on the cross country. And that's a great achievement, you know, so we did a lot of celebration for that. And then it comes the Olympic. After that was the Olympics, and Olympics getting Debessay and Meb on the medal section. That was breathtaking, right? You cannot explain that. You just coming in 2001 for the first time in just 4 years to get a medal is breathtaking, right? We should not take that lightly. So what produced that energy in a short period of time, we expect that to continue, but you know, everything, we had passed a tough situation in the past 20 years, and no war, no peace is not an easy situation that you can think we can advance in sports. I think right now we have the atmosphere. Everybody should contribute to that. We should not just expect the Eritrean Athletics Federation or the Eritrean Olympic Committee will work on that, but all of us, especially the people that we have the privilege to contribute something, we should contribute something so that it can go with the better energy, right? So all of this added up in 2005 on the cross country. For the first time, Debessay got second place. That was a great, great event. So were happy. Actually, we did a party where we invited Abraham Aforke in 2005. It's a great event. We invited all EAAA members. Most of them come in. It was a great fundraise. So we sell that shirt that Senai won for the second place. So we put it for, and then, so it was gone for $5,000. So we sent shoes and shirts for that. That was a great, just people want to support that. So when people were going to buy a t-shirt, a simple t-shirt for $5,000, what it showed you is how much respect they have for Eritrea and for Eritrean athletics.
Actually, I remember the person who bought it is someone that I knew, Ajaba.
Ajaba Gabriel.
Yeah.
She's a great lady, yes, with a great heart. Yes. And she got it, and I was like, my heart was taken. I was like, you keep going to 1,000. Yes. 1,500.
I remember that very clearly.
3,000. I was just, what is this? I was like, and then she took it 5,000, and I met her after that. I said, your respect shows us that you pay tribute to Eritrean athletics. So I want you to go with me. That your 5,000 will be bought shoes and be given to Eritrean athletes. Absolutely. So she was willing to go with me, and we went together in 2005. So we got a lot of shoes, 4 bags of shoes. We took that to Eritrea, distributed to Eritrean runners. Some of the shoes we distributed while we were there. We did a competition in Asmara Stadium, and we gave it to the runners, right? So that was great. And what came into heart is that you always that, oh, I contribute this, but when you see people dedicating a lot, Ajaba Gabriel is just a great lady. And then she took me to the orphans that she was, supporting, right? She was supporting about 8 to 10 of them, it might be more. And she was spending a lot of money every year to support them. That's breathtaking. That every time you go and to Eritrea, you see that people are doing 100-fold on what you do for the country, and you just simply want to do more for the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Merhawi, talk a little bit about your what I asked you, and just so you guys know, we have about 10 minutes left, and so that's what we're doing. But to wrap it up, say whatever you guys want openly. We, EAAA, Merhawi, MEB, and we got to revive this thing up, because people don't understand the magnitude and the role that it played in. Getting an Olympic medal is sometimes. There's been countries who've never gotten Olympic medals. We are able to do it in such a short time as a new nation. And so for me, this is what we've done. What you and all of us have done is amazing collectively. So Merhawi, I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, so in terms of just a reflection on Tokyo, I think going back to 2000 was it was great to have representation. So everybody was proud just about that. 2004, when Debessay medaled and Meb medaled, it was just amazing. And I think sometimes that created such a high expectation for Eritrea as a whole. And that didn't come easy. Debessay, he's a once in a generation runner, right? And he happened to be from our country, our native country. And so he did so much. He broke world records for the half marathon. But the thing is, you always have to invest, because you might have some amazing athletes like Haile Gebrselassie in Ethiopia and, Kipchoge, and Debessay is one of those, and Meb. But we always have to learn to invest in some of the other athletes, right? Young athletes, so that we can have future Debessay. And I think that's something that we all need to work on. And now the landscape, the competition is so much tougher than it was 15 years ago. All the times are improving significantly. So it's just, not only is there Kenya and Ethiopia, but there's also the United States, which is running better than ever. A lot of European countries, Uganda has done a great job over the last 15 years, and you can see the fruits of their labor and investment. So I think for us collectively, there's a lot of work that we can do, but it has to be collective, because nowadays it's, not just shoes, there's coaching, there's nutrition, There's so many different things that are factors that are more important than ever before. And so I think there's a lot of work to do, but also we need to get some new blood, some young people that can carry the torch, because at the end of the day, you know, Dr. Yohannes has done so much, and all the people he has mentioned, Meb has done a lot. I think I've contributed a little bit, but you know, to make it sustainable, you always need young people or new people to contribute and to be involved. So that's one recommendation I would have. And then finally, on my part, I think we need to invest more in women. Absolutely. Women runners from Eritrea. You know, we had our Senai. On the women's side, there's been some amazing runners, but that, you know, supporting the women in the sport will only open up the floodgates like Senai did and like Meb did. So that's one thing I want to encourage all of us to really overinvest in the women's side, because we've always underinvested over the last several years.
Absolutely. And you know, with that said, we could talk a lot, and we have about 5 minutes left. But what I wanted to say was, you know, the role that, like you said, everybody played here is started something. It kind of froze up a little bit. Now I think Yohannes is saying we're going to pick it up again. Every international is going to be able to work with you directly, because we work with the Sports Commission. But, you know, EAAA still has to have its own guideline and all the things that it's been doing. But one of the things that I think we could do collectively is also to try and promote some kind of national sporting center, which I've been talking to a lot of young people about in my conversations in Eritrea, a big center where we physically can train, because the altitude is already there for us. The talent is already there for us, but we need a center, a huge, big center for all athletes to be able to train, so that they can stay home, and then when they leave, they're ready to go and, you know, compete. So with that said, any last minute additions, other things that you want to say, and I'll wrap it up from that. Johnny, I'll give you the mic.
Okay. I think it's very important. It came as an idea when we were running EAAA, having an Olympic training center, right? Olympic training center is very, very important. We have Asmara Stadium, of course, but we need something outside, maybe outside Asmara or somewhere that you can, you know, train the runners, send them. Just, you know, a huge investment is needed. So we raised so many ideas, but there are so many great ideas from back home also, but to entertain all those ideas and to come to fruition is very, very important for the runners. The investment is very needed. All the runners are going with almost no investment, I would say. Of course, the country is doing much to send them everywhere with what it can, but running requires a lot of investment on the runners, right? Yeah. So especially the female runners, EAAA started Eritrean Female Runners Development Project and was helping the female runners a little bit on pocket money, I would say, but more and a bigger is needed to invest in Eritrean female runners at the same time. But having the center is the key to develop the sport.
Absolutely. And Merhawi, and we're going to count on both of you to be a big part of this. And Merhawi, go ahead. I'll give you the mic.
Yeah. What I would say in addition to that is, let's make sure we talk to the runners and ask them what they need, right? Because they know more than us. You know, we can give suggestions. We know what has worked for other countries and other training camps. So we can always give our suggestions. But I think it's very important, especially in the short term. Mm-hmm. What is most useful? Because sometimes we want to do something huge, right? And that's great, of course. It's good to have that vision, but sometimes a little bit goes a long way. And so anything we can do in the short term to support those athletes, and there's so many athletes, not everybody is going to get what they want or what they need, but if there's a way to make sure that those that need it the most get the support, because if one person succeeds, they can open the door and opportunities for others. So one thing I've learned is, just from my personal experience working with Eritrean runners, is sometimes I try to help too many people at once. And then the resources you have are spread thin. And so what I've learned is make it very selective. And if you can take care of those people, then you can take care of more people down the line. So that's one approach I would recommend.
Well, thank you very much to both of you. And what I want to say is, in addition, Johnny, just so you know, when I did my master's degree in international sports management, before I got into the school, one of the things that they asked me to do was, why do you want to do the sports management? And I gave a history sort of the Eritrean outlook, you know, in sports in general, but also in particular EAAA, and how, you know, we, the EAAA from the diaspora played a role in building a national program in Eritrea, you know, and so they're amazed. They couldn't believe it because one girl was talking about, oh, I got this little NGO and I took it to South Africa and I was able to get 2 athletes. I told her, well, we have EAAA and we did this, and the people are amazed by the work that we did. So it has left a huge impact in our country. And so I think that it's important that for the next Olympics, a lot of people are waiting for a medal this time around, but I know sometimes our wishes are very, very big, but hopefully the next Olympics we'll get something. With that, I want to say thank you very much to both of you. We're going to have a discussion like this more and more. We're going to try to open up forums like this to discuss sports. I did have Zara Sanai with me a couple of weeks ago. We did about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We did a Swedish Scandinavian Sports Festival, and Zara Sanai was able to come. So we're going to bring in some of the athletes and connect them with you guys. With that, I want to say thank you, and your last goodbyes, please, if you don't mind.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Mike, you've been doing a lot in the Eritrean sport. You are involved in everything, almost everywhere. So you were involved with the soccer team, with the Eritrean National Federation in North America, and then you were a good support for EAAA on that side. Also, I would like to thank you for that and for everything you do. And I would like to thank for this opportunity also to express this for the festival. So that I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Merhawi, last words.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for putting us together, Mike. Thanks for all that you've done. And really, everybody, let's all chip in a little bit. It doesn't have to fall on one person like it has in the past. I know you guys have taken the burden and the responsibility, but if we can spread the love, spread the work, I think that's the way we can make it more sustainable.
Thank you very much, and happy festival to all of you. If you guys are coming, we'll see you there. If not, talk to you soon. See us online.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice to